The diner was nearly empty when she saw them walk in. A sharply dressed man with silver-streaked hair and a little boy curled into a wheelchair, his hands resting awkwardly on a tray in front of him, his eyes wide and searching. It was nearly closing time, and the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above the hum of a tired old fridge. Emma had just wiped down the last table when the bell over the door jingled. She'd been on her feet for 10 hours, her back ached, and her tips were barely enough to cover dinner. But she smiled anyway. "Sit anywhere you like," she called. The man nodded and wheeled his son to the corner booth by the window. The child looked up at the ceiling tiles with fascination, as if they were stars. Emma approached with her notepad. "Hey there, sweetie," she said gently to the boy, kneeling slightly. "What's your name?" The boy made a small, joyful sound, and the man answered, "This is Ben." He's nonverbal, but he understands everything. Emma smiled wider. "Nice to meet you, Ben." The father glanced at the menu but didn't seem to read it. He looked distracted, not in the usual way tired parents did. He looked haunted. Tired, yes, but in his soul. "We'll take 2 grilled cheese sandwiches," he said. "One with tomato soup." Emma nodded. As she walked away, she heard the man whisper to himself, "He hasn't eaten all day." In the kitchen, Emma quickly scraped together their order, adding an extra slice of cheese and buttering the bread with care. Something about that little boy tugged at her. Maybe it was the way his eyes lit up when she spoke to him, or the way his father looked like he'd fallen out of place, too polished for this rundown corner of town. When she brought the food out, Ben's face lit up. But as his father tried to feed him, the man's hands trembled. He spilled some soup. Ben whimpered softly, frustrated. Emma hesitated. This wasn't her place. But something deeper overruled her. "May I?" she asked gently. The man looked up, startled. "I used to take care of my little brother," she explained. "He was born with cerebral palsy. It's okay if you say no." The man hesitated. Then, with eyes full of quiet relief, he nodded. Emma sat across from Ben and fed him slowly, smiling, talking to him softly. She wiped his chin with a napkin when he dribbled and made silly faces that made him laugh, really laugh. His laughter was crooked and pure, like sunshine bending through glass. The man said nothing. He just watched. After the meal, the man stood up abruptly and left a $100 bill on the table. "No goodbye? No thanks." Emma frowned as she watched him disappear into the night. 2 days later, he came back. Alone. Emma's heart sank. Was he going to complain? Had she overstepped? But he simply said, "Can we talk?" They sat in the same booth. He looked different, less guarded, like a dam had cracked inside him. "My name is Daniel Grant," he said. "I'm the CEO of Meridian Holdings." Emma blinked. The name sounded familiar. Stock market stuff. News headlines. "I know this will sound strange," he continued, "but I watched you feed my son, and it was like watching someone speak his language. You saw him. Most people don't." She said nothing. What could she say? He exhaled. "My wife passed 2 years ago. Since then, I've had 10 therapists, for nannies, and not one person who made Ben smile like that. I've been throwing money at the wrong things." Emma's eyes softened. Daniel looked her in the eye. "Would you consider coming to work for me? As Ben's full-time caregiver? I'll pay you whatever you ask. Benefits. Housing. I know it's a lot, but I need someone who sees him." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She thought about her crappy apartment, the overdue bills, the brother she'd buried 5 years ago, and the way Ben's laugh had felt like a second chance. She nodded, tears stinging her eyes. "Yes, I'd be honored." Months passed. Emma moved into the Grant estate, a sprawling home tucked behind security gates and sorrow. But over time, laughter began to echo through its long halls. She and Ben spent hours in the garden, his hands brushing the tops of flowers. She taught him sign language. He taught her patience, joy, wonder. Daniel transformed, too. Slowly, he started coming home earlier, eating dinner with them, smiling more, talking less about stocks and more about sunsets. One night, while watching Ben sleep, Daniel whispered to Emma, "You didn't just change his life, you saved mine too." Years later, on a warm June morning, a crowd gathered under a white tent outside a new facility. The plaque read, "The Benjamin Grant Center for Neurodiverse Children." Daniel stood at the podium, holding back tears. Emma stood beside him, now the director of the center, her heart full. He cleared his throat. "This center began with a grilled cheese sandwich," he said, smiling at the crowd. and a waitress who reminded me that the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever.